The Bionic 6 and Iron Man, the 80s crossover that almost was. The 1980s for me was a decade filled with some of the most imaginative and ambitious cartoons ever to grace my Saturday morning screen. I used to love getting up in the morning, running to the TV and watching the first 2 hours, or in the afternoons on Sunday if you were in South Africa, on something called Mnet. Probably a very few people know what that stands for. Needless to say, for me, it was a time when animation studios weren't afraid to experiment, blending genres, creating original superheroes, and sometimes almost crossing paths with comic book giants like Marvel. Today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating what-if scenarios of the era, a potential crossover between the beloved and underappreciated Bionic 6 and Marvel's very own Iron Man. So buckle up, because this is a tale of bionic heroes, corporate deals, and the creative visionaries who almost made this crossover a reality. Let's start by giving the Bionic 6 its due, because I'm guessing a lot of people haven't heard about this series. I know when I talk about it with my friends, they go, who? A what? Most people know Thundercats. Some people even know Bravestar, but do you know the Bionic 6? So the Bionic 6 premiered in 1987. This series was the brainchild of the minds at TMS Entertainment and was co-produced by MCA Universal Television. While the Bionic 6 never quite reached the cultural status of, say, the Transformers or G.I. Joe, it developed a cult following for its unique blend of family dynamic and superhero action. The show followed the Bennett family, who after a freak accident were transformed into the bionic-powered superhero team known as the Bionic 6. True story, I so wanted to watch one particular episode, and I was told I wasn't until I did my homework that I did watch this show, and then I got a hiding for it. Each family member had a unique set of abilities. Jack Bennett, aka Bionic 1, was the team leader with enhanced vision and strength. His wife Helen, or Mother 1, possessed ESP and telekinesis. Their children, Eric, Sport 1, Meg, Rock 1, JD, IQ, and Bungie, Karate 1, rounded out the team, each with their own specialized bionic enhancements. The series was innovative for its time, combining the traditional superhero team format with the wholesome, relatable dynamics of a family sitcom. It was a toyetic property, meaning it was designed with merchandising in mind. There were action figures, vehicles, and even a comic book series.
Eat bricks, Bionic 6.
But beyond the toys, the show stood out for its high-quality animation, deep character development, and the way it tackled themes of responsibility, teamwork, and the challenges of being different in a world that values conformity. On the other side of the spectrum, we have Iron Man, a character who needs no introduction today, was still relatively niche in the broader pop culture landscape of the 1980s. Created by Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, Don Heck, and Jack Kirby, Iron Man, aka Tony Stark, made his debut in the Tales of Suspense 39 in 1963, so that's a while ago. Over the decades, Tony Stark evolved from a Cold War anti-communist icon into a more complex character grappling with personal demons, corporate intrigue, and his own sense of morality. By the mid-80s, Marvel was actively exploring ways to expand their characters into other media, including television. They had some success with animated shows like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends and The Incredible Hulk. However, Iron Man wasn't yet the household name he would later become. This was before the era of the MCU, where Tony Stark is arguably the linchpin of an entire cinematic universe. Here's where things get really interesting. During the 1980s, Marvel was exploring new partnerships to bring their characters to life in ways that they had not done before, and at the same time the creators behind the Bionic 6 were looking to expand their universe and add more depth to the world. The idea of the crossover between the Bionic 6 and Iron Man wasn't just a pipe dream, it was seriously considered. Imagine what they could do with this crossover. Tony Stark, with his genius-level intellect and cutting-edge technology, teaming up with the Bennetts, who combined family values with superhuman powers. Stark could have been a mentor figure to the Bionic kids, perhaps even helping them refine their bionic abilities. The clash of personalities between Stark's suave, often egotistical demeanor and Jack Bennett's stoic fatherly leadership would have made for fascinating character dynamics. And let's not forget the villains. Combining the forces of Stark's rogue gallery like the Mandarin or Crimson Dynamo with the Bionic 6's Dr. Scarab and his goons could have led to some truly epic showdowns. But despite the potential, the crossover never materialized. Various factors played a role, corporate red tape, licensing issues, and perhaps the most significant reason, timing. By the time the serious talks could have taken place, the Bionic 6 was nearing the end of its run. Marvel too was pivoting towards other projects, including laying the groundwork for what would eventually become the Marvel animated universe of the 90s, featuring shows like X-Men and Spider-Man. Even though the crossover never happened, the mere idea of it is a testament to the creative ambition of the 1980s. The 80s were a time when animation was bold, experimental, and not afraid to push boundaries. Had the Bionic 6 and Iron Man crossed paths, it could have changed the trajectory of both franchises. Maybe the Bionic 6 would have gained a stronger foothold in pop culture, ensuring its place along other iconic 80s cartoons. For Iron Man, an earlier presence in the animated world would have accelerated his journey to becoming the global icon he is today. In some ways, the spirit of the potential crossover lives on in modern era. Today we see crossovers all the time. Marvel characters sharing the screen in the MCU, or epic team-ups in animated shows like Young Justice or Avengers Assemble. The concept of interconnected universes have become a staple of modern storytelling, and perhaps we owe something of that to the seeds planted during the ambitious 1980s. In the end, the Bionic 6 and Iron Man remained beloved in their own rights. While they may never have shared the screen, the idea that could have been continues to capture the imagination of fans and myself today. Whether you're a die-hard fan of Tony Stark or you still have your own Bionic 6 action figures, one thing's for sure, there's always room for a little what if in the world of superheroes. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into 80s nostalgia, be sure to like, subscribe. Please hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the world of geek culture. Until next time, remember, live long on Tuesday.